Today we're going to talk about blame versus responsibility and how does that look like. Really, it's an amazing thing when you actually transform from the blame perspective to the responsibility perspective. And I'm going to show you how that works. And this will literally change your whole emotional state if you do it properly. And let me start by explaining what happens to us when let's say somebody hits our car. You know, some people like to park their car all the way at the end of the parking lot just so no one hits it. But imagine you walk out and you see someone has actually hit your car. That's not fun. But so ultimately, what are they doing? They're actually leaving you behind responsibility. You have to actually take time to fix the car, and you have to pay money to fix the car. So they're actually leaving you responsibility behind, and they don't want to take care of that. So you have to take care of that now. So what do we generally do when this happens to us? We believe that it's unfair. Someone should not do this to us. And we get really down on ourselves. We get really mad and angry, and we start blaming the world. So what do? The first thing we do is we pick up the phone or we find the closest person to us and we start whining, complaining, and getting really mad at everything. And now there's a rain cloud that is actually moving with us, and it's right above our head, and it's constantly there raining on our parade at every second of the day. So, and that may take a day, 2 days, 3 days, maybe a week. Some people stay within that for like a month or even more. So how do you shift that? How do you get out of that? And why is it important to do that? Because ultimately, number one, it's important to do that. Why? Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to feel like that. But what it does when you're actually blaming, you get really angry. Anger cannot exist without blame. I'm going to repeat that. Anger does not exist without blame. So what does that mean? So when you start blaming the world, okay, this is unfair to me, which it is, but you're actually being unfair to yourself as well because you're carrying that emotion. So you got to let it go. You got to drop the blame. You got to drop that blame perspective. That drops the anger. Now, some of us it's very hard to do, but try it and you'll be amazed at what happens. So what do? What perspective should you shift into? Ultimately, you have to shift to the perspective of responsibility. What does that mean? That you are responsible for everything that happens to you. When you start understanding that, you actually start reaching the highest form of maturity. And what happens here? It's very important. So watch this. When you're actually blaming, you stay in your own head reflecting about the concept, and you get stuck in the moment of time when that happened, and you cannot live within the present moment. So you're constantly negatively reflecting in your head, and you're constantly talking about the situation over and over and over to people. And you're firing and wiring your brain at that level to get angry. So what do you have to do? Snip and flip to a responsibility perspective. Because ultimately, whenever you're doing that, let me go back, give you one more point on blame. Whenever you're blaming, what happens? You're actually looking backwards, and it's negative. You're staying negatively reflecting your head. It's negative thought process. So you feel negative and you're looking backwards. Whenever you take responsibility, you shift to what? A future perspective. And here's how it works. So, and it's positive because you're trying to resolve the situation. And here's how it works. Now, somebody hit my car. I can sit there, and some of us actually kick the car. We get so mad. But I can shift to responsibility and say, you know what? Maybe there's cameras around. Maybe somebody saw something. I go into problem-solving mode. And I'm no longer, maybe still a little bit upset, but ultimately I shift my perspective to actually the moment. I'm actually living in the moment. I'm no longer in my head. I'm actually in the moment doing what I need to do to resolve that responsibility that someone had just left me. So it's very important. And it's just such a little tweak going from blame, having a blame lens versus a responsibility lens. That goes a long way in terms of emotional regulation and getting yourself to the highest, not moral, but ultimately, I would say like emotional construction for yourself and getting yourself to the healthiest aspect where you can resolve problems and not take them on and hold them inside of you and have that anger exist for a very long time. So try that next time. And guys, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these, and I'll see you next time. Take care.